The Manhattan lounge buzzed with hushed power conversations and expensive cologne. Ethan Hayes, a successful tech entrepreneur, leaned back, detached. Liam, already half drunk, slapped the table. "Come on, Ethan." He slurred. "You said you could charm anyone. Prove it." Ethan smirked, his father's voice echoing. "Don't tarnish the family name." He took another sip of scotch. Behind the bar, Aisha Reed moved with quiet efficiency, her forearms dusted with flour from morning baking. Ethan's gaze drifted to her. She didn't smile or flirt, which made her more interesting. "Her," he declared, pointing with his glass. "I'll marry her." Liam shrieked. "The bartender? You won't." Ethan was on his feet. Aisha looked up, calm. "Can I help you?" He leaned across the bar, bold. "Yeah, marry me." She blinked, then smirked, unimpressed. Serious proposal or rich boy rebellion? The guys howled. Ethan bit his lip. "What if it's both?" Aisha wiped her hands, met his eyes. "I don't marry drunk strangers, but if you're brave enough to remember it in the morning." She slid him a coaster. "Justice of the peace in Brooklyn, 2 subway stops down. I get off at midnight." Ethan stared at the coaster. Liam shrieked. "She called your bluff." Ethan pocketed it. "She doesn't think I will." He walked off, his heart thudding louder than the music. That night, in a tired municipal office, he showed up, and so did she. "Hello, my enlightened viewers. Thank you for tuning in today. Where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments. What did you think of Ethan's dare and Aisha's response so far? Your words motivate us to keep making these videos. Don't forget to comment, share, and keep the positivity flowing." Sunlight sliced through the hotel blinds. Ethan squinted, head throbbing. The unfamiliar room held his jacket, a dead phone, and a folded piece of paper on the nightstand. His fingers trembled as he unfolded it. It was official. Ethan Michael Hayes and Aisha Marie Reed. A date, a signature, a witness. It was real. "Holy hell," he whispered, a humorless chuckle escaping. "No way. No freaking way." His heart slammed. It wasn't a joke. His phone buzzed to life. Liam's messages topped the list. "You legend. What now, Mr. Reed? Hayes?" Ethan groaned, pressing his forehead into his palm. He vaguely remembered her calm voice, her jacket draped over him. He had no idea how he got back. He looked for a voicemail from Aisha. Nothing. Just one missed call from an unknown number at 3:12 a.m. He stared at the screen, then the paper. It was supposed to be a laugh, but something about it felt disturbingly honest. He folded the license and tucked it into his wallet. The Hayes penthouse was marble and icy silence. The moment Ethan stepped inside, Richard Hayes appeared, sharp eyes on his tablet. "What is this?" His voice was lethal. On the screen, a blurry photo of Ethan in a wrinkled suit beside a grim-faced clerk and an unknown woman. Ethan's stomach flipped. It was a joke. "A mistake," Richard cut in. "This mistake has a legally binding license. Do you even know her name?" Ethan didn't answer. Richard already had it printed. Aisha Marie Reed, a bartender. The last word was contemptuous. "We'll annul it quietly. Legal team is on it." Ethan looked away. "I'll handle it." Hours later, in his sprawling room, he stared at his phone. He hadn't thought about calling her until now. He tapped the unknown number. Aisha answered on the second ring. "Hey." Her voice was low, unbothered. "Ethan Hayes. You sober now?" "I need to talk," he said carefully. "About Brooklyn, the paperwork." "You want out?" she said, not unkind. "I figured. I won't sign over the phone. You want closure? Come say it to my face." "Why?" "Because I was there too, Mr. Hayes. I stood beside you. I signed. That deserves a real goodbye, don't you think?" The line went quiet. He was used to people folding, but Aisha stood firm. "I don't want your money or your attention," she added. "I'm not something you check off like a receipt. When you're ready to mean it, come find me." The line clicked. He stared at his reflection. She wasn't angry or dramatic. She was just real, and it unnerved him more than any threat. The Brooklyn air was cooler, the street art vibrant. Ethan stepped out of the cab, his suit too expensive for this neighborhood. Aisha's building was older, fire escapes clinging to the brick. He paused at the steps, heart pounding. This wasn't just a formality. He knocked. Aisha opened the door, paint splattered, a wide, easy smile. She wasn't surprised. "Took you long enough," she said, motioning him in. He entered slowly. The apartment was small but clean, smelling of coffee and cinnamon. "I didn't expect," he trailed off. "What?" she asked, pulling a pie from the oven. "For me to have a stove?" "No," he said quickly. "I just didn't think you'd let me in." She glanced at him, slicing the pie. "You're here. I figured that meant something." He sat at the table. "You bake?" She smiled. "My mom worked nights. Someone had to feed my little sisters." Ethan exhaled. "I thought you'd be angry." "I'm not." She slid a slice toward him. "You don't scare me, Ethan." He looked down. "Everyone else wants something. You don't. That's confusing." "I want things," she said, "just not what you're used to." They ate in silence. She leaned on the counter, arms folded. "Why'd you come?" "I thought if I saw you again it would feel fake, that maybe I imagined it all." He hesitated. "You're the only thing about that night I remember clearly." She nodded. "Then maybe it wasn't all a joke." The setting sun cast gold across her face. He stopped seeing her as a mistake and started seeing her as a mirror of who he was terrified to be. Honest, rooted, real. It scared him even more. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments if you're loving it. Type 1 if not, type 0. We want to know what you think. Back in Manhattan, the penthouse felt colder. Ethan stood by the window, phone in hand, staring at the skyline, his thoughts circling back to a woman in Brooklyn. His father hadn't asked how Brooklyn went, just assumed it was handled. It wasn't. He called Aisha that night. "You home?" she asked. "Yeah," he said softly, curling on his empty bed. "Didn't expect to hear from you." "I didn't expect to want to call." She chuckled gently. "Same." They talked for 15 minutes, then again the next night, and the night after. On the fourth call, he asked, "Why do you keep answering?" "Because I like how you sound when you're not pretending," she said. "It's rare." He looked around his room. Charity galas, bespoke suits, a full life built on empty things. "I don't know who I am without all this." "You do," she said. "You just don't trust him yet." He laughed. "You always talk like that." "Only when it matters." Their calls became routine. Midnight whispers, daily check-ins. She sent pictures of street art. He sent sarcastic selfies from board meetings. Something warm, unexpected, formed. He never told his father. He didn't know how, and for once, he didn't care. Someone saw him, not the headlines, not the name, just him. It felt like the beginning of something he'd been missing. Ethan met her at Penn Station, nervous. Aisha stepped off the escalator, unbothered. "You really came?" he said. "You really asked?" she replied. He smiled, brief and real, and they hugged like it wasn't the first time. At dinner, the Hayes estate shimmered. Ethan wore a suit his father approved. Aisha, in a vibrant sapphire dress, stood out. Richard Hayes greeted her with a tight nod, his gaze cutting. "So, this is the bartender. You clean up well." Aisha didn't flinch. "I get that a lot, mostly from people who expect less." Ethan shot his father a look. "Can we just have dinner?" The evening dragged. Conversations about venture capital and exclusive clubs. Aisha listened, mostly silent, until Ethan's uncle asked, "So what do you do again?" "I run a small community hub in Brooklyn, a cafe, arts workshop, and mentoring for local youth." "So you're still behind the counter?" "No," she said. "I'm behind people who are building their lives. There's a difference." Later, Aisha pulled on her coat. "You're leaving?" She nodded. "I don't belong here, and that's okay. But you need to ask yourself if you do." Ethan reached for her arm. "I'm sorry, he's not the only one," she said gently. "You didn't stop him. You didn't say a word." His throat tightened. "I didn't know how." "That's the problem." She walked out, quiet and proud, leaving a room full of everything Ethan had grown up thinking mattered. He hated it. Not her, them, himself. The silence. Ethan sat on his father's pristine couch, the estate echoing judgment. Richard paced. "You embarrassed yourself, Ethan. That girl, she humiliated you. Lucky no one from the board saw. Ethan stared at his hands. She didn't humiliate me. You did. Richard turned. Excuse me? Ethan stood. You talk about legacy, image, bloodlines like people are assets. Aisha said nothing out of place, and I said nothing. That's on me. Richard's face hardened. You're not thinking clearly. No, I am. For the first time, Ethan stepped closer. I quit the foundation. I'm moving out. I'm done letting you dictate my worth. Richard scoffed. Where will you go? Back to Brooklyn? Play house in a rented apartment with a woman you barely know? Ethan's voice cracked but stayed firm. I don't know what it will be, but at least it'll be mine. He walked out without packing. No suitcase, no plan, just a wallet, a coat, and a heart shaking loose from its gilded cage. By nightfall, he stood outside Aisha's cafe. The street was quiet, warm light spilling from the windows. He knocked on the side door. She looked tired. He looked scared. I don't have a plan, he said softly. Just the truth. I was silent because I was raised that way, but I'm not staying silent anymore. She leaned against the frame, arms crossed. Why now? Because losing you felt worse than losing everything else. Aisha didn't smile, but she stepped aside and he stepped in this time. Not as a dare, not as a haze, but as himself. Aisha laid a spare duvet on the couch. 1 week, she said. No drama, no press, no pretending. Ethan nodded. I'm not here for show. She glanced over her shoulder. Then you can start by wiping tables. This isn't a hotel. The next morning he pulled his hair back, wearing one of Aisha's oversized work shirts. It smelled of coffee and something steady. He scrubbed tables, sorted mugs, restocked shelves, quietly observing. Regulars came and went, recognizing him but saying nothing. He caught snippets of local life, community events, struggling artists. It felt honest. Later, he joined Aisha behind the counter. She handed him a rag. You missed a spot. He smirked. Bossy. Clean is clean, she said. Doesn't matter who does it. They shared lunch in the back alley. You built this place piece by piece, he said. After my mom passed, I needed something that felt like mine, something real. Ethan looked around. You made it feel like home. She watched him with an intensity that made him feel more seen than ever. That night, as he settled onto the couch, Aisha passed him herbal tea. You're not bad at this, she laughed. At what? Showing up. His smile faded into tenderness. That's all I want to do now. For the first time, he didn't feel like he had to perform. He just had to be, and that was harder and better all at once. On the third night, while helping Aisha sort old paperwork, Ethan found them. Creased, yellowed enrollment papers for a prestigious law school, her name, Aisha Reed, graduation date stamped clean. He also found a letter from a major legal aid organization in Manhattan offering her a senior position dated 2 years prior. A cold knot formed in his stomach. She's not just a bartender. She had a different path, just like me. When Aisha walked in from the cafe, he was at the table, papers in front of him. She paused. He didn't hide them. I found these, he said, his voice flat. The law school papers, the job offer. I know, she replied, walking to the fridge. I brought them the first time I came back. I thought if I gave you the choice, it would make everything easier. He pulled out water. And now, I still want you to have the choice, she said, even if I want something different. Aisha sat across from him. You think this changes what I already know? Which is that? You're not the same man who walked into my bar with a dare on his lips and entitlement on his breath. He didn't speak. She slid the law papers closer, picked them up, and tore them in half, then in half again. I wasn't waiting on those, she said. I was waiting on you. Ethan swallowed. And now I know you're here for the right reason. Tears welled. I'm not sure I deserve another chance. She leaned forward. Good. That's how I know it's real. The torn paper lay scattered. No ceremony, no grand gestures, just a quiet decision. Something fake had become true. That truth, fragile and unspoken, held more weight than any contract. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. What do you think about Aisha's secret past? It was a lazy Sunday morning. The cafe was closed. Aisha was outside, laughing, teaching kids to sketch a new mural. Ethan watched through the window, unseen. He held up his phone, framed her, sunlight on her jaw, hands covered in paint, a faint smile. He snapped the photo. No filters, just her, just real. Later, sipping coffee, he posted the image to his Instagram account, the one his father monitored. He typed, "She gave me the kind of love no one ever taught me to want, and now I don't want anything else." Notifications exploded. Liam messaged, "Are you serious?" His father called twice, ignored. Ethan didn't hide. He sat beside Aisha as she packed up art supplies, reading reactions aloud. "Apparently I've fallen from grace," he said. Aisha looked up. "That's what they're calling it?" "Some of them. Others said I look happy." He handed her his phone. She studied the post, then him. "Do you?" He nodded. "For the first time, I'm not posing." Aisha exhaled. "So now what?" He shrugged. "Now they know it's not a secret and I'm still sitting right here." She smiled. "Good." He reached for her hand, paint clinging to her fingers. "You okay with being seen?" She squeezed gently. "I've been seen before, but never like this." The distance between their two worlds didn't vanish. It was simply walked through together, hand in hand. No apology, no performance, just truth finally out in the open. The Manhattan Strip hadn't changed. Still loud, still flashing, still pretending. But Ethan walked it differently. No suit, no pretense. Just a comfortable shirt and Aisha beside him, her fingers brushing his. They didn't speak as they approached the old municipal building where they'd married, the tired potted plant still standing. Inside, the place smelled of old paper. The same dull lights hummed, but Ethan didn't feel like the same man. He stopped in the middle of the room, turned to Aisha. "You remember anything about that night?" She smirked. "Yeah, you called me your mystery muse and almost tripped on your own vows." He laughed. "And you asked if I was serious." I never answered. He stepped closer. "I am now." They stood in silence. No music, no audience, just the hum of dusty lights and the ache of full-circle clarity. Ethan touched the clerk's counter. "I used to think this place was a mistake, a joke." Aisha looked at him. "Still might be." He raised an eyebrow. She added, "But some jokes are smarter than we are." He smiled. "So what do we do now?" "We don't run from it," she said. "We honor it." He pulled out 2 simple platinum bands. No diamonds, just weight and meaning. "These okay?" She took one, slid it on. Perfect. He followed. They didn't need an official. They'd already made the vow. Stay, try, be better, be real. Standing where it all began, they gave the moment something it never had the first time. Truth. No crowd, no dare. Just 2 people who once made a mistake and decided to love it anyway. The Brooklyn sky was soft and orange. On the rooftop of Aisha's building, Ethan stood barefoot, a breeze pulling at his shirt. Below them, life moved in quick, noisy pulses. Up here, it was quiet, sacred. Aisha stepped out, holding a small, hand-carved wooden box, a look that said everything. She hadn't yet spoken. Ethan turned, his heart stammering. "You okay?" She nodded. "Better than okay." He watched her kneel, not for show, but because some promises deserve gravity. Her hand trembled as she opened the box. Inside, a simple gold ring. "I married you once on a joke," she said, voice steady, "and I didn't think it would mean anything. But the way you came back, the way you stayed, the way you let yourself be seen, that meant everything." His eyes burned as she continued. "I don't want to be your story anymore, Ethan. I want to be your home." Ethan knelt too, knees touching hers, tears slipping down his cheeks. "You already are." She held out the ring. "Then say it again for real this time." He took the band, slid it on, and whispered, "Yes." The rooftop lights flickered on. He leaned into her, forehead to forehead, breath caught in her warmth. They didn't kiss right away. They just held each other, steady, grounded, complete. In a city built on illusion, they had found something painfully, beautifully real, and this time, it wasn't a dare. It was love, fully chosen, fully theirs.